party comes after us, and then we're spent, and like I said, if he comes back and said, hey, I think I think it's legit, it's legal, we could do it, I think it's worth pursuing.
I
have a question for
communicate to people that are coming on late.
forgive my ignorance. So the matter case you brought up, I'm sure you looked at it and this is still valid precedents, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They don't go away.
The importance of this, as you've highlighted, is that the petitioners, the selectmen of the town, was found, the court found they have no jurisdiction to alter or change the highway as they attempted to do in their order, and that the order is void.
Yeah, the reason that case really interested me is because it's just like Hartley Hill.
Okay.
It was a town trying to discontinue a section of road that was entirely within their town, but the entire length of the road passed into another town. And so it raised the question, it's like, well, why can't the town just deal with its own road? And the Supreme Court came out real clear on it. If it goes into another town, even though you're discontinuing the part that's in your town, you gotta deal with the other town. That discontinuance wasn't valid without Rockingham participating in it.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, the folks that just joined, I just want to say that I showed up late. They needed help setting up, so it's not the town's fault, or it's the board's fault that that you guys we got the Zoom up late. That was totally my fault. Just so you guys know. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Alec, I'm sorry, this, Mr. Chair, this is Cynthia Stoddard. And I cannot believe we are 2 years into this. And you guys we still can't get this remote stuff done. Alex, I understand you were late, you're not blaming it on the town, but we're sitting out here waiting and you've started a meeting without us. So I'm going to call the Secretary of State's office tomorrow and find out what happens when there's a Zoom option and it's not available for the people that are logging in through Zoom and you start a meeting without us. I don't understand it. So I just wanted to be on record saying that.
Well, you should also know that, and thank you for your input and concern. You should also know that we debated prior to that pending Fact TV appearance, whether they were coming or not. This does happen. We did note specifically into the record that because we had noticed publicly that there would be both a public meeting and that all citizens, would have access to the Zoom conference through Fact TV, that this was a deficient proceeding. However, at this particular juncture, whether we were going to get the restoration of the service or not, all we had was a call to order, the adjustments to the agenda, of which there were none, the acceptance of the December 15th minutes, communications and public comments, which can be made up right now if you so choose. And we are in the middle of only one piece of business, which is the Hartley Hill Road quitclaim deed. And that's where we currently stand. So we did notice the deficiency. We made sure that it was in the record. However, seeing that the public is now with us, anything that needs to be redressed, given we're only very, very short into the meeting, can be redressed or discussed at this time, if you so choose, or any member of the public so chooses. We can monumentally apologize for the technical difficulty. It does happen. We regret deeply that we were deficient in launching the meeting without Fact TV. It is correct, it's publicly noted, but at no time did this board or anyone here from the public or otherwise do so with intent to make sure that we were depriving any citizen their say or their access to the discussion and the information presented here this evening. We did put that in the record. We're now on the record. So if you wish to address any of those things before we proceed to the further record, you certainly can.
The only other thing I have to say, Kevin, is thank goodness that Fact TV was paying attention to their messages They answered me very quickly as to what was going on. Otherwise, I'm sure there are other people, if they were on here, they would have just logged off and not even known where, but I thank Fact TV for answering me quickly to letting me know what was going on. But the public out here had no idea that it was a technical difficulty. We just thought somebody hadn't pushed the button. So I appreciate everything you're saying, but I'm still back to, we're 2 years into this and we still have problems doing this type of hybrid meeting. So that's all I've got to say.
Thanks for your comment. We place in the record. Does anyone, welcome and happy new year to everyone online. Does anyone have any additional communications and public comments before we continue to proceed with the Hartley Hill Road discussion of the claim deed?
I can, Mr. Chair, Nate Stoddard, I'll just add my 2 cents in echoing the exact same thing. I don't understand why the town is not doing something on their own. I attended 3 other town Zoom meetings in the past week and a half. All functioned with their own equipment seamlessly. So I just don't know why we're not doing something.
We were just talking about doing that, you know.
2 years later, Toby.
Nate, we also changed the place of our meeting at people's request to have more room. We're here. We could have, and I'm not disputing that it was a technical difficulty, but we have made some arrangements, so.
Right, and that's fine. And everybody, I'm sure that would still feel comfortable sitting in that space with non-masked folks would probably go there. But there's still a level of Zoom meetings that people would prefer to do.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just pointing out that we did change the location. At Cynthia's request, she was fairly.
You know what? I'm sorry. I know that I'm getting angry. It's not at my request. You guys have a responsibility as select board members to make sure that it is available for the public to participate. It's the law. So when I say I want a bigger space, it's not for me. I'm asking for the public because there are people that don't feel safe doing it. And we're being told by experts in the field that we shouldn't be meeting close together. So don't keep saying you're doing it for me. If you don't think it's necessary, do what you want to do. All I'm asking for is what every other town has been able to accomplish, is to hold a meeting where whether you're remote or you're in the building, you can participate. That's all I'm asking for. And Jason, way before you got on the board, I have been saying this since the day the pandemic started. This is not new. It's new for you. That's all I'm saying. I'm getting too upset and I don't want to yell and I don't want to be that crazy person, but stop saying it's for me. It's for the town. And either you want people to participate or you don't, is the bottom line.
And on top of that, COVID set aside, look at 2 or 3 meetings ago, how many people you had in the upstairs of the town hall. That's just, you can't accommodate enough people to participate. You get more than 5 people in there and you're sitting on everybody's lap. If you have a hot topic, people can't come because there's no room. That's the point of space. You can't have a room that will only accommodate 6 people regardless of a pandemic or not. It doesn't make sense.
We've been helping the other towns get their own remote setup and they have a solid location. Westminster's still working on that. And I just say this was my fault. They have reached out to me to make sure that these meetings are coming up, and I totally dropped the ball in terms of, so they were communicating to me. They've been switching locations and we're working with them to get a solid location and to get them set up so it runs smoothly, like the town of Rockingham or Grafton. Those are all towns I work with in terms of getting equipment for them to run it. So, but this meeting was totally I dropped the ball on this meeting. They were expecting me to come and I didn't show up at the right time. So I know you guys are upset. I just really, I mean, you got to know it was they've done everything. They've called me, they've emailed me, and I dropped the ball. So, just to let you know tonight. So,
And Alex, and that's fine, Alex.
I'm just letting you know, I'm working with the town so that we can get them set up and these problems. So people need us help and assistance, and that's what we do at Fact TVs. We help municipalities to be able to put on these meetings. So we're working towards that.
Well, I don't want to, I'm not saying anything against your service or the company, but the towns that I'm talking about that I participated in, our towns are doing it on their own. They have their own equipment. They're holding their own Zoom meetings.
Yeah, we're moving towards that direction. Yeah, I mean, but I'm helping with them. So I'm just letting you know. I mean, I just want to make that clear. That's all. Okay.
Any other,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
any other comments or communication from the public? Thank you very much for your comments. Again, to move on from this, we monumentally apologize for not being ready for the meeting and for being technically deficient. But I am confident on behalf of the board, unless anyone objects, that there was no intent here to preclude any member of this community for any reason this evening from attending. We made that, we noted it in the record, and well more than 90% of this proceeding remains and is open to participation. And we certainly take full responsibility for any deficiencies that occur in any public meeting that is done by the Westminster Select Board. We do not put it off on anyone else, including Fact TV, although we appreciate his comments. That being said, I'd like to move on at this point, return to our discussion on Hartley Hill Road and the quick claim deed. If we have anything else to discuss. Yes, Mr. Whitford.
Well, one thing I'd like to say is just that through this whole issue over the years, one of the things that I've had to fight is disinformation. And also a great deal of deference on the part of the town of Westminster to whoever the owner of the estate at the top of the hill happened to be at the time. The deeds that you've been given by Mr. Proctor this evening, I read years ago and came to the exact same conclusion, which is that Bonds does not own the road. And I've been saying that to him and his caretaker for a long time. And I've been saying it to the town too. And instead I just get pushback. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, he does. And I hope if you take nothing else out of this meeting, what you take out of it is Bonds doesn't own the road. Okay. For instance, there was a culvert replaced at the top of the hill, and my understanding is that it was made as narrow, the road was kind of made into a little choke point at that point. My understanding is the culvert wasn't made any wider than it was because that was how narrow Paluski wanted it. Well, don't ask Paluski what should be done on that hill. Ask us all or ask none of us, right? So that's one thing. Other pieces of information, well, just a little thing like Bond is a lawyer. Well, he's not a lawyer, but you know, so that's kind of frustrating. And so I just want people to exercise due caution and take all the information you get, whether it's from me or from anybody, with a grain of salt until some evidence can be presented that backs it up. So that's what I have to say.
Any comments?
Thank you.
My view to the board would be that we take.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I did want to add one other thing was in light of that fact, the whole disinformation thing that I've had to deal with, I would really like any communication from Slayson to be in writing to the board, and I would like copies of that. Because I want to know what disinformation is still being published out there, so that if necessary, I can rebut it.
Disinformation that Mr. Proctor gives, we are allowed to give that, to show that to Larry.
Oh, I just gave it to you. It's a matter of public record.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was gonna say, but I think as a board, I don't think we need to vote, or maybe we do. or we don't, that we will immediately present this to our attorney, have the town manager present this to the attorney, and have a response drafted within the next 30 days.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable request.
Yeah, that's a reasonable amount of time. I mean, 7 months is not reasonable for a
I
deed,
appreciate it.
you know?
Is anyone on the board have any comment or?
No, because they got hard evidence now from Mr. Proctor that here, now he has to take it and come back with a concrete answer, other than, you know, you don't want to do this. He has to now say, no, this is either right or it's wrong, and then as a board, we can then make a decision.
I thought we did get an email response back from Larry.
I have not seen anything
Okay,
committed.
I thought.
And I've called Russ
We did.
several times and I've said, have you heard anything from Larry? And his answer is always no.
But on the other hand, we haven't handed Larry information.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
so-
and any-
Well, you know, at one point, I did manage to get, one of his other attorneys on staff, Ms. Snow, on the phone, and she said that they had asked for deeds and things to be sent over from the town, so it doesn't seem as though you needed to hear it from us. Larry should have been doing this, everything that Fletcher just did in the last month. I think Larry should have done a long time ago. But here we are.
Okay.
And thank you so much.
And that's appreciated, but now that we have it and it hasn't been done,
Yeah.
we're in agreement that we submit it in writing to our attorney through the town manager, and that we receive in writing, please, within 30 days, a written response from our counsel for the town.
And if Larry or Samantha Snow would like to speak with me, I'm
You're available.
absolutely happy to talk to him anytime.
Thank you, Counselor. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it, really.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate your patience. We appreciate your patience. Okay, any other comments on Hartley Hill Road? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to town meeting date and time.
In your packet, you have what we consider the 3 options that are in front of us. The governor has not signed the past legislative bill, I guess, in front of him that gives towns permission to move town meeting in person to a later date. But it is pending, and it's been pretty much told to us that it will come very soon, as in this week. So option 1 is turning everything into an Australian ballot, which many towns have still done, and have an informational meeting prior to the March 1st vote. Option number 2 is an in-person, as we always do, February 26th, which is the last Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Bellows Falls Union High School, with possible restrictions, pod seating, with spacing, etc. Their restrictions are still moving. They're not totally confirmed yet because of the amount of cases that they're getting. And hopefully by the end of February, maybe they would have a much more direct approach to our town meeting, but it is definitely okay to have it there. And then of course we would have normal voting on March 1st. And option number 3 is the normal voting on March 1st at the town hall from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then it would be resumed for an in-person town meeting on April 30th, as you folks had discussed, at the Institute lawn or here at the fire department in their bays, according to the weather conditions, at, again, 10 a.m. So those are your 3 options.
The status, you had updated everybody on the status, so I thought, who had approved it? The Senate and
The Senate and the House have approved it. It's now on the governor's desk to sign. It's pretty much a given that it will be signed. It's just he hasn't done it yet, but he has promised this week. That being said, we still don't have it for sure.
Not to be technical, but we do not officially have the governor's signature upon it.
That's correct.
Which means we can't postpone it, we have to have it by Australian ballot or.
Well, it's going to be signed.
I know, but he just
I mean, it's not being argued about. So I don't think we should worry about that and just wait to see just what it turns out to be and when he's gonna sign it this week.
That's what it was told to us.
Yeah.
It was this week.
Who told you?
The town clerk told me they got it through this, so I think it was the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
But I
I
mean,
think, from everything that I've been reading and hearing, it's gonna happen.
David, you had,
I've just heard the same thing.
okay,
It's not an issue.
So even though right now legally we couldn't have number 3, we're pretty sure we're gonna be allowed to have number 3.
I firmly believe, yes.
I just can't believe number 2 would even work, because even if you sat in pods, you still gotta walk through the door. That's what's always so scary. You got a line of people walking back and forth through the hallway and everywhere else. You really feel safe even in that school doing that. I questioned us ever doing number 2 for a while.
students doing everything.
Yeah. They have to. So.
More of them than would be
Yeah,
us,
probably. I don't know if we got a lot of choices other than you could go one and just have everything be an Australian ballot, but that never flies in Westminster. So.
Well, and it's just,
My suggestion, and you can shoot it down if you want to. I would assume that you have 2 options that are better than the third. If you would say that you prefer option 3 to any of the others, but as a fallback, we would go back to the original number 2. Then at least I don't have to have a special meeting for you to finish the warning. I can get that in the town report. The February 26th is coming upon us quickly, and we're running out of time to get all the documents, all of the ballots, if you happen to go with number 1. So we need an answer. I assumed we'd have an answer when they first started on the 4th and the 5th, but they didn't. And we were gonna have a special meeting and
They had originally said by the 15th, I think, when you mentioned this the last time, they would have this resolved by the
15th. And then they said, no, we can't wait that long, because they started doing the math themselves and said, no, we'll have it done by the 7th, I think it was the Friday.
If we make the motion that we go ahead and prove that you proceed with option number 3, pending that the governor signs the bill. If he doesn't sign it, then we fall back to 2. Will that work?
That's what I would like.
okay, second.
motion has been made and seconded to proceed with the intent to follow normal voting on March 1st at Town Hall. With in-person meeting to proceed on April 30th, 2022 on the Institute lawn or the fire department, depending on weather conditions and possibly COVID conditions. And if the governor does not sign, then we will revert back to town meeting in person on February 26th, 2022 at Bellows Falls Union High School.
I wouldn't spend a lot of time talking about that, because that probably won't happen.
Okay, I'm just putting in the motion, so it was clear. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion from the public? Okay. Take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to September 29, 2021 storm.
Well, we got some good news. Tuesday, yesterday, that our first project has been processed completely through FEMA and has landed on the state of Vermont's desk. And in fact, the funds have been obligated, which means they have been given from the federal government to the state of Vermont with our name on it. And we'll be receiving shortly a signed contract type thing for project number one. And as soon as we sign that, we send it back to them, they process, and we should get a check very, very soon. So our first check would be in the form of $74,100, just under $100 for the first project that was submitted. So that's really good news. It is at record pace. The PA that we have working our case has never seen it, and her bosses couldn't believe it, how fast it went through the process. So it's really good.
Thank you.
So that was great news Tuesday.
Any comment, any additional comment? Any comment from the public? Seeing none, moving on to Route 121 Bridge discussion.
So about 2 weeks ago, a couple individuals from Rockingham voiced concern, and Toby asked that this would be put on our agenda about the bridge that's going to be replaced, the top part on the Route 121 corridor. And what the concern is that we don't have a 4-foot shoulder going in for bicycles and pedestrians. But what we do have is a 3-foot shoulder on each side. So a few suggestions were thrown out that maybe we put 4 feet on one side and 2 feet on the other, and that would shift weight, and they can't do that. Nor can they add a cantilevered walkway off to the side. And so in your packet, you have his answers to all of the concerns. But again, this was decided upon about 1.5 years ago, the design. You guys had options to look at. This was the best one that gave us cost, gave us flexibility, and it also gave us walkways that, yes, they're not perfect, but at least they're there. Compared to what we got now, I've inspected that bridge a couple times, and I tell you what, you take your life in your hands when you step onto that bridge now. With the 3-foot shoulder, I feel much safer than I do now. So I think we moved in the right direction. And again, our pockets were stretched as it was for that bridge. So we chose an option that fit our budget and our needs.
These people got the response.
They all got this response. Yeah.
I say it wasn't our first day, but we discussed this a long time. But so unfortunately.
Was it ever opened up for public input?
Absolutely. We had 2 public hearings through the state, and you guys were part of it.
So there was an opportunity for people to weigh in and.
Rockingham was there.
Way before now.
Rockingham was there.
We didn't even have one meeting, we had multiple meetings. We had meetings over the guardrail, how far we could move it back. We discussed everything. We fought like heck to get as wide as we could.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comment, discussion? Anything from the public? Okay. Moving on to new business, highway mileage certificate.
It's funny that we're talking about Harley Hill, but this certificate is for this coming year, in which we won't have that mileage put onto our certificate. So the box is checked for no changes in the mileage for this year. We sign this every year. And Kevin, you have the original with Susan's
I do.
signature already. So if you could pass that around, that,
Make a motion that we.
yes, sorry,
ratify
Craig.
And sign the certificate of highway mileage for year end in February 10th, 2022.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Motion to adopt the certificate of highway mileage year ending February 10th, 2022, has been so moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So adopted. Thank you. Moving on. Quarterly financials ending December 31st, 2021.
as always, you get the quarterlies, and I typically give them to you one meeting and we discuss them the next. So I will table this until next meeting when you have a chance to look at it and want to ask questions.
Okay, terrific. Draft audit and schedule of deficiencies.
So in your package, you have the draft audit from Sullivan Powers. Thank you very much. To look at, you have a letter from them stating their interpretation of the audit and what they do for us. You also have a letter in there responding to the two deficiencies that have been listed in the actual audit. One for property tax reconciliation, and in response from Paul and I created it. And then the second was journal entries, and we decided to place that we have hired Nemrick for longer services so that the accuracy can be caught before it turns into a bunch of journal entries, just a few short adjustments. And also the, oops, then that's the last item. Sorry. So if you could look at those, and if you have any comments, please get back to me. The sooner the better, because again, they need to move forward.
Do we have enough time to review the draft audit schedule deficiencies before our next meeting?
We can always put the audit. We'd like to have the shorter version in it, which is the MDA, but we can always put it on the side as an insert. I'm sorry, Dave.
In the town report. You want to have it in the town report.
A blurb if I could. And then I would want the whole thing, of course, to the public on the banner, on the railing, or if we're here on a table. Of course, so that the public can have them.
Comments from the board on the deficiency items? First of which is general ledger, regarding property tax billings. And that is assuring that two people view all billings before they are published.
So it's all down the count. There's still gonna be two people that view it.
Yes, it would be your assistant treasurer
Yeah,
and myself.
and if he's there, it'd be him and the assistant.
Correct.
Okay.
Him,
So there's
myself,
always,
yeah.
it's always at least gonna be two people. Okay.
So we're real confident that you are Mr. Town Manager, that the first efficiency regarding the two separate people review all billings before they are pushed has been accomplished and will be firmly adhered to in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I brought up since I've been here too, I always question. When I see billings, I always question why, when I get it or when she gets it or whenever we sign up, that you guys don't, the two people that looked at it, all of it, then you give it to us to look at it to sign, why there isn't a page that you people sign off on, or am I missing that? That you actually gone through and looked at, you see what I'm saying?
I sign each payment going out. So I know what, I don't sign the last document, but I do sign each invoice that is being paid in that warrant.
Individually, but like I said, it would be kind of nice to have like a cover letter that here are the two people who signed, that you went through all these, you handed it
We
to
can
us.
definitely sign the warrant. That's not an issue. We can definitely initial with both of us.
That way we know that when I go to look at it, that I know that at least two of you looked at it
Probably.
before I look at it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Any other comments on deficiency 1 from the general public?
Kevin, this is Darlene. I have some other questions about not just the deficiencies, but there were also other recommendations from the auditor. So I don't see those in Russ's letter. So I was just wondering, is the board aware of those? Because some of those are budgeting issues and you've just approved your budget, but yet the recommendation is coming from the audit to do different things in your budget, but yet you aren't going to do it this year. So is it going to be next year?
They have the draft. It was in the packet that was sent out, and I handed them to them tonight. That's what he was just reading.
Okay, but what I'm asking is that going to be addressed, or are you going to address that next meeting? Because Jordan put in the adjusting entries he had me make for last year, specific comments about the school tax billing. They also put it in the recommendations to the audit. There's a process to reconcile your tax bills. It's not looking at every tax bill, but there's an actual process of what should be reconciled back to your tax book. And their recommendation is that all time cards are getting signed by their supervisor. There's other recommendations besides those material weaknesses. So I'm just curious, will that be addressed by the board at the next meeting?
My observation is, as we continue to move through the financial manual with your fine help and NEMRIC, perhaps, I won't say all, but perhaps many of the concerns raised by the auditor will hopefully finally be addressed once we have the manual up and running. And we have established procedures that all accept to be, best practices, I guess, for lack of a better word, moving forward. So my answer to that would simply be, as soon as we need to continue to proceed to finish the financial manual and make sure that all these items are addressed.
So I understand that, Kevin, but that manual is a working document. So in my professional opinion, just saying tonight, I think you should be looking at those recommendations sooner than later, because those are coming right from an audit that is addressed to the board to fix sooner than later. So yes, we can put that in the finance manual, but material weaknesses are a big deal in an audit. That's a very, very important pieces to hone in on. And other recommendations are, you really should be doing it. So I just encourage that happens sooner than later than waiting for this manual, because there's a lot of moving pieces to the manual, and we're not going to get to an end to it. It's always going to be evolving, and that should be addressed soon.
I think that's very reasonable. I appreciate your synopsis. And
we can put it back on. It's hard to digest 43 items that he's addressed. And I think a lot of them are just information, so I'm trying to see where you're looking at, they're actually doing recommendations, but if we could put it back on for next time, we could have.
Absolutely.
Quick discussion.
There's a small document that's your management, where they address the management, not the whole big document. So it's just a small few pages where they clearly identified things that they had noticed that were an issue. So those are the ones that I'm talking about as you look through it for next meeting.
That's the ones I'm looking at.
Yeah.
One of them is not applicable, the authorization of the time sheets. We've been doing that for at least a year and a half. And Jordan apologized for putting that on there because we have been doing that. So the very last page of that document.
Give me an item. What is their number?
No, it says authorization of time sheets. It's on the very last page. If you're looking at this. No, this is the deficiency letter. It says select board and it says draft.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got the wrong one.
Very last page. Pauline does the assistant clerk. I do my assistant. Chuck does the road crew. So he will be removing that one for your letter with when it becomes a real letter.
Is this the same document? Darlene, is this the document she's talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I'll see about that. Well, we were looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the full audit, which is your financials. I'm talking about the management letter. And so can I ask out of just, because this is my experience with other places, so I'm not trying to fuss or anything, but does anyone sign Russ's time?
Arlene, can I ask you to maybe move your mouth a little further away from, you're very loud in here.
Okay.
Just a little bit back. Okay.
So I was asking, yep, I was asking, does anybody sign off on Russ's time?
Good question.
My time card is salaried, so what my time that I put down is not relevant to the pay. So it would be the only things that you'd look at are time off, vacation, and personal.
Okay, most places it's common for someone on salary to still submit a timesheet.
I submit a timesheet every bi-weekly.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Someone should be signing off on that as well as all of the other time cards. Even if it doesn't differ, but you're stating how many hours you're putting in, that should be part of the process as well. And that should be the board, because they're the ones that are managing the manager.
Duly noted. Let's include that in the list of things to provide. Anything else?
Thanks, Darlene. This brought up. We'll look it over and get back.
Do you have anything else, Darlene? Did we lose her?
Sorry, nope, I was muted. So I'm just curious how the journal entry stuff is really going to work since Paul isn't around very often. So just be aware that when things need to get changed or moved, that's going to be possibly inaccurate financials until Paul's available to post those entries. And I can tell you that Paul does not quite understand how to do that, so I will need to train him.
I think that he's eager to, not to be not the town treasurer, and maybe we need to start thinking about how, it's something that one runs for. And, this is the time that we should be thinking about this. Having a treasurer that wants to be a treasurer.
Yeah, yeah, he's had to express this feeling several times.
I believe the slate of officers for election is out, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, everyone, if anyone wants to pursue bid for the general election, it's there. I guess our continued search, also with Paul will continue. If someone is going to step up for that role. But
What would you do in the event that nobody ran and he really just didn't?
that's a great question.
We'd have to appoint.
We would appoint temporarily, like until the next election.
To the next election.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
Anything else? I noticed that we've already marked VLCT for investment banking policy, fraud policy, and fraud risk assessment.
Yes, that was recommendations from Jordan with my conversation with him.
Okay. So again, I really appreciate everything, Darlene, you're doing. And the objective here is to continue with that path and speed things up. I don't think anyone here thinks that it's not critical that we get this done quicker as opposed to later. These are very important issues, and we need to tackle that. So we'll continue to do that. Yep. Any other comments? No, draft audit and schedule deficiencies. Seeing none, sign scope of services, Sullivan and Powers.
In front of you, Kevin, is the, and in your package, you have a copy of it. It's just the scope of services that they do. We did sign it once, but they've misplaced it. And I sent them the original for their records.
Who's that signature at the bottom?
Excuse me?
Who's that signature at the bottom?
Susan has,
It looks like it's Susan House.
Susan did it before she left.
Oh.
Any amendments, changes?
So could you pass that around, Kevin,
Yeah,
please?
are there any amendments, changes, or
She signed it, but do we have to make a motion to?
You should.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and sign the contract for scope of service with Sullivan Power Company. Where's the fiscal year? It says this one ended June 30th, 2021, so it would start July 1st, 2022
This is for the audit they just finished.
for the one that finished. Okay.
Correct.
motion made?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the scope of services for Sullivan and Powers. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? So adopted. Okay, moving on to warning and approval.
Toby, could you please sign that and keep it moving so we don't forget?
Why is it when you send us this thing, Russ, it was in red was, thank you. It was, one of them was in red.
Because we were still waiting for their petition and they opted not to go for the bigger amount. So they're back to their budgeted amount of 11,500. It's hospice visiting nurses. So they removed their name off of the warning.
Oh, so yeah, it was 11, so now that's the one up there.
That's correct.
Okay, warning approval.
I move that we go ahead and post the warning for the annual meeting for the article.
Thank you.
Motion made to accept the warnings from the annual meeting as presented to us. Second.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Then no, we'll discuss it after it's seconded.
Okay.
So what you should know before you approve it is what's missing is the equipment fund, which you added to the budget this year, that we always have in there. Still is the bridge rehabilitation fund is still requested in there. The budget amount that was approved. And then Article 5, you want to make sure that that's what you want. I mean, I had to do something for it, but
that was the number that we finally came to agreement on? I was wondering about that.
that is a whimsical number. That is not the number. So at that point, I was just putting in this item for you. So
We can always go in just before that.
change it if you had to. Yes.
Okay. Being that.
And then the rest of them are what they were.
Most of them, we didn't have a choice. Somebody else did it for us.
Yeah, the appropriations, right. And another thing you should know is Article 8, Sevens did not use the new census. They used the old census, $3 a person for the 9534. Our census, according to the new numbers, is way down compared to that.
We dropped that much.
Yeah, went from 32 and change to 3,016.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and according to our homesteads and according to our school and according to our parcels, we should be around 3,600.
What are you talking about?
Population.
Huh?
The population,
Oh, the population.
which is based on $3 a person for
Right,
sevens.
That's what I knew that part.
So
And it went off.
they just didn't bother to do the homework to say, oh, we have a new census, 2020.
Oh, I see.
And so their money is based on the old census. So that definitely should be brought up at town meeting. But anyway,
What's scary, we fight it every time, but sooner or later, they win 3 times in a row, that for almost forever, they get it every year without asking.
Well, but they haven't even gotten it one year.
I know, thank God.
yeah,
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, Nate Stoddard. Clarification, if you would, please. Audio pops in and out. So Article 5, you're talking about a sum that's printed. You've made a motion to accept the warning as printed, but then it sounded like you're discussing about a floating number and changing that number in some point in the future. How do you do that?
Good question, but
It's moved, at town meeting, it's moved, and then someone comes up with an amendment.
right. Same with the first one. We normally right away come out with amendment that this is now the number on it.
Okay, so you're talking about changing it at town meeting, not changing it prior to town meeting.
100%. You would actually get.
All right, I misunderstood, sorry.
Oh, that's fine, but that exactly, whoever was chosen to make it, they would say, I want to make an amendment to this to start out with, and they come back with correction, and normally that's a discussion on why you got amendment. But that, I think that's what we were saying, Nick.
Anything else, Nathan? As always, that's a very good question. I'm glad you brought it up. And I'm glad to have Mr. Major here who will be there refereeing, so. Anything else, Nate?
No, again, thank you. I apologize.
Not to apologize for it. Good question. Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion?
See if we get a pass the vote.
Yep. Okay, so let's go through it again. I'll accept the motion.
I thought I did make a motion.
Just go ahead and do it again, please.
Oh, I'll go ahead and approve the warning for the annual meeting for February 26th as written and presented to us.
Got a move second.
I'll second.
Can we discuss this for a minute?
Sure.
You're saying for February 26th. So are we, there are two warnings.
So as you discussed up in previous in this meeting, you should sign them both. And then if you get your druthers of April 30th, then I just throw away the February 26th. But if we're held to the February 26th, then I will be using that one. So I would ask that you sign both of those.
How do you want the motion?
Motion should reflect the two separate dates, but the fact that both documents are absolutely the same, with the exception of the dates.
That's a good question. So now I am a little confused. If we make the motion, we accept both.
You made the motion to
Pending the governor's signature.
pending the governor's signature. So if he doesn't sign it, then we fall back to the February 26th.
So I should make the motion for April 30th. Is what we want.
With the fallback date of February 26th.
So
Just
let me
as you did
change the
before.
motion, then I'll make a motion that we go ahead and accept the warning of the annual meeting scheduled for April 30th as written. If it's proven not to be legal, then we go to February 26th.
Have a second. And seconded. All those in favor? Please say aye. Aye. Opposed? They're adopted. It's going to bring us to the FY23 pay discussion. Yes,
Mind if I just jump in here for a second?
please.
Just quickly let you know, Russ, and Ross know that the school board articles are coming to be verified and the reports verified. I think you want them by the 17th, is that right?
Yes.
And if they're gonna be a little different, they'll be a little less than what we were used to 3, 4, 5 years ago, because it's a brand new district. That so far as the state is concerned, there was no Westminster district, now we're starting a new one. And so that reports won't have 3-year prior reports, for instance, because this coming year will be the first year. And you've probably also heard that there's been the auditor at the SU level has discovered a number of problems, and that has delayed some of the supervisory union numbers and reports and so on, but I think they will be done by the 17th, or if not, then it'll have to be a supplementary thing that goes in to the academy. But the Westminster reports and budget will be there. And the warning part will be ready for the town report. Interestingly enough, the fact that the town meeting is likely to be on April 3rd instead of February 26th means that we will then have an elected school district moderator, which we don't currently have. So, anyway, that will be part of that was going to be something that we were going to have to
Address.
and we probably won't have to address, particularly if we all sign this school district moderator. Three of them there, the prudential committee, the school district, and the town. Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
All of us we're short on volunteers in the community at this point, and I think we probably should recognize how valuable we all are and how important it is for them to become involved. That's what we run, volunteer help.
So easy not to volunteer today.
It is, and there's lots of good reasons not to volunteer.
Part of volunteering was the socialization. This COVID-19 just took that all away. So it's just a job, almost like a job now. You don't have this, be able to sit there and socialize with people.
I don't think almost, I think it
Looks like there's more than three.
There's three, then there's one for Elise Manning who has to, he's the Westminster representative to the union board.
So we're signing all four?
All four, if you would.
In the interim, can we begin the discussion of the FY23 payment?
The way structure?
What's that? Is that why I'm here?
Yeah, I'm trying to wake you up.
We have, several on our wish list. We have discussions with the ARPA committee about, Broad Avenue. And working maybe with the Aqueduct Society, replacing water on Main Street down through. And fixing this parking lot at the firehouse and fixing this whole drainage issue. You guys know, you've been here when it's flooded out here. So that's on the wish list. Westminster West, from BB Road, north, over the village. Is on the wish list. And so is, Church Ave. Engage Road is pretty rough shape.
Alden Street.
Alden Street's another one that's pretty rough shape. So.
I think it'd be nice on the short.
Short road.
So, yeah, so what we've got to do is we've got to get down, we've got to measure, find out the square footage and figure out what we've got for funding. And get somebody to give us kind of a budget number so we at least know what we can do and what direction we
Not a
can.
bad idea, because we're in front of the voters at town meeting, like when we had something left over. If we could show them there, next year's this year, the following year's the next year, and the following year's that, a schedule laid out what's paving, and if all of a sudden we look and we got, 50,000, well, somebody could say, well, why don't you take the 50,000 and put it into doing Church Avenue this year and get it done a year ahead of time. At least we're showing them what's on schedule and which one, how long they're gonna have to wait.
Sure.
We need to get numbers out there so we can get on some schedules. To be able, they'll start filling up fast.
Right.
So, and know what we can afford to do. So we're not putting something out to bid that we can't even afford to do it. So.
So like you said, that's what we're gonna do, measure, find out the square footage, and then figure out, we gotta get somebody to give us a budget number, contractor say, listen, this is what I project it's gonna cost to We gotta decide, are you gonna mow, are you gonna do a complete reclamation, are you? You know. What we're gonna decide, so obviously if we do a project like we did last year up in front of the school, that obviously takes more money. Yeah, it should last a long time, but you're not gonna be able to do that everywhere. You won't get anything done, because we don't put away anywhere near enough money to do it that way.
And not everywhere needs that.
Not everywhere needs that, no, that's true, absolutely.
We also have future opportunities that have been kind of waved in front of us, that there's some serious infrastructure grants coming to different states, and we're kind of been holding off on the ARPA until we see what is also available elsewhere. So it's kind of a game of wait, but you have to proceed. So
Yeah, don't wait too long.
that's it, exactly. So, yeah, long story short, our eyes are wide open for all funding opportunities, that's for sure.
Do you know off the top of your head what we have, what we're looking at, like roughly dollars?
Probably just what we're allocating this year.
Which is what I'm
135 is what we're asking for.
Didn't we have a grant that came in last year that allowed us to finish the extra 1,800 feet on the West Road?
No. No,
We did.
we didn't.
We did, though, because we couldn't afford to pay. We put that project out and it left 1,800 feet that we couldn't do. And then we got money.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, what we did is
Which allowed us to finish that,
right.
and a portion was used for crack sealing.
That was all because we didn't pave the year prior.
Leftover.
Basins pushed us back to a whole season, and we were able to hold off on that year, and that's why he had more.
I could have
Money
sworn we
to
got
go.
something.
So what happens,
But we
back
didn't-
Westminster was a structured grant, right?
Say that again.
Structured grant, back Westminster Road.
Yes, yes.
And it didn't get paid. The year it was
Maybe that's
supposed
what-
to be done, it got done the year after, so when we got the payment.
Maybe that's what I'm just
Last
confused.
year,
Yeah.
so we had already paid for that, then we got, all of a sudden got this grant that came in. So we utilized, like you just said, we utilized that money to finish, to go that extra 1,800 feet.
Right.
And do our crack sealing and do some pole patching on top of that.
Even before he got so late that he cut us a deal where he locked it in.
Yes,
Right.
He just said, okay, I'll just do it in the spring for the same exact dollar amount.
that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we do.
Right.
So it's a work in progress. We haven't not been thinking about it. We've got a proposal into ARPA. We're meeting on the 18th. So hopefully discuss that possibility, and there's other, like we said, other grants pending coming up supposedly.
But in between snowstorms, as you say, we're gonna make a list of these roads and get an actual footage and numbers so that we'll know what it will cost to pave each one individually, then we can decide and categorize them, 1, 2, 3, this is where we need to be, and go from there. We can only do what we can do.
More comment, discussion?
So it's a very important matter.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Executive session, we have a brief personnel matter, which will include only the select board. The motion to,
I'll make a motion to go executive session personnel for only the select board.
motion in May, and a second. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye, opposed. Managers report.
Two things, Martin Luther King Day is Monday, January 17th, and the town hall will be closed, along with the road crew, if possible for them.
Thank you very much. Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Give me a second. In your packet, you have the equalization study results for our properties. The CLA and the COD are both within range to maintain for another year if we want to. Our properties are still flexing hugely. So probably it would behoove us to wait a little bit longer to, before we do that. But again, the state's not gonna make us do it. It would be up to you as a select board. And the ranges are still pretty,
I'm gonna say.
Pretty adequate.
Yeah.
so, so that was just a heads up. In your packet, you have the death, list. And, Kevin, you want to speak to the board about
Town clerk and Pauline and Patty sent a very nice email. And the position appears to be pretty universal. I think that's a good word, Russell, for other towns, that we not include the information in the report because that they have been subject to these names and people have been subject to theft of identity and other things.
I just can't believe that.
Yeah, I know either.
I just think that's ridiculous.
Today with your phone, you can go look up whatever you want. If somebody wants to do it, they're gonna do it.
They're not gonna do it for Christmas, but they're dead.
It's in the newspapers.
I'm simply reporting to my fellow colleagues that what our town clerk and Patty at their workshops have been experiencing.
I'm not blaming them.
They
I
have
just,
been experiencing.
And discussing with their colleagues that this is not a good practice and that there has been, again, misuse of these names in other towns, in other places, more often than not, and that we should give serious consideration and not include. Is that right? Did I miss something on that?
No, and just to press the point a little bit further, they do not want to place that in their report. They have,
I don't have a problem with that.
they issued it, the actual documents that said how many people passed in Westminster for the year, but the list would be separate. They don't want it part of theirs, because again,
What
the
do you
state,
mean part of theirs?
their report in the town report. Typically, it would be under the town clerk's information. Excuse me?
No, we can go to.
We're
Memorial.
just stating a fact, and so that it would have to find another place for it, no big deal. We
Put
can
it on the
definitely do
select
that.
board. Whatever the select board is, this is the people in town we want to recognize that they've been in this town. I mean, it seems like if we're putting people who are born and everything, but at least
We
a
aren't,
lot of these people here.
we aren't putting that either.
No
No names. What's that?
No births either.
No personal names, no. It's just with these times, and I think the word they keep throwing at us is highly ill-advised, is what the state has been telling them.
We just put it in the Gazette for a second. I thought it was kind of nice to read the Gazette this week. There was the names, people nice. I thought it was like, oh man, I didn't know that person. You know, when I see the family, I'll say, geez, I'm sorry, I didn't know your father died, you know? I mean, it isn't like the days where we saw them through like 2 different newspapers and it was long obituaries. You can't even hardly see obituaries unless you go online or something anymore. It's just lost the personal touch in this town of people who lived here.
I think there should be a place for, at the end of the thing with marriages, people who got married this year.
They don't list people, but they do have all the numbers in their report like they always do.
6 people got married.
So how many couples?
No. Who cares about that?
This is public information. They can go down, the same person that wants to rob you can call down the town clerk and go, hey, is there a death certificate? And the town clerk has to tell them. Right? So it's not private information, it's public information. You know, that's what I don't get.
And it could be nicely done in the back of the.
Let me tell you, there's about 5 people here. One of them is my aunt. I'm sure her husband would nice to read him and pick up Russell. It'd be nice to look up and see the town report that his wife was in there, that she passed away, that people recognize her name. I understand legally where everybody wants to be protective of everything, but you know what? It's kind of nice once in a while to be able to have a town report, we open up.
I don't think.
It's just not all numbers.
Getting robbed because of
Yeah.
that.
You have a motion that was passed to at least a meeting or two ago. So if you're not gonna change your mind, this discussion, just as a discussion.
I didn't agree
No.
with that.
No, we had a discussion to put it in.
Put it in. Yeah, put it in. We had this discussion.
Right, and I understand, we didn't say
The
where to
motion
put
was
it.
made to put it in.
Oh,
So this is just a discussion and a motion would be needed to change your previous one.
No, but let's
If you're not
clear, let's not put it where they don't want to put it.
That's no problem. I can
Okay.
definitely do that.
They're simply reiterating their very serious concern, that's all. And I said I would bring it up at the board meeting. And that's been done, and we decided to stick with our original decision.
I made a lot of bad decisions in this town, so I'll live with this one.
So the last one, so these guys can go home. They've had a
Oh, so wait, they're waiting
long
for something?
series of time. We, in your packet, we got a grant from the USDA. Chuck has been working with Michael Lapointe and, our good side is that we have been approved for $132,563 worth of repair, to which 33,141 would be the town's match. So we've been talking about it, and I asked him this morning, is this something that we can push off and wait a year? Or is this an immediate need? And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but go ahead.
So, yeah, anything, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but it's right on the side of Hickory Road. And too many more of these storm events, and you could lose the road. That's why you got awarded the grant to begin with, because it does show immediate need.
Kevin, you've seen it, and I know Jason, you've seen it. It's up by Moffitt's
I
corner.
know where it is. I did not go up there. and see it.
Oh, okay.
I did, and thank you all for the
Hey, Chuck, what's the word armor mean?
education.
Oh, when they stone line a bank, armor, it's for, against more erosion.
They'll tie it in with shelves and
So,
anchor it right to the bank.
so it's a technical way.
Yes, that's right.
That's correct.
It's,
So in order to meet the grant, somebody's coming in saying you're gonna lay down and put it this way.
that's right. Serious spec, he's an engineer. That Michael LaPointe's an engineer.
Just never heard of the word. That's all.
USDA, yeah. Very similar to what Gurnett had Basins do, across from Orchard Hill. I don't know if you saw the direction of the brook changed. They went out there and put it back to where it was and had to armor the bank. So.
To protect the whole side hill. I mean, it really was starting to.
Curious, that's what.
So give me an example. What happened in Gageville?
What happened?
Is that what you did in Gageville?
Where?
As you're going around the corner, it looked like the bank started to slide. and
Yeah, no, that's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, compared to what this is.
No,
But it's
something
safe.
serious, yeah.
Big, large rock at the bottom,
Yeah.
going up smaller as you.
We're talking rock like this,
Okay.
you know, starting out and, yeah,
Okay.
it's quite a.
So what do you?
So our dilemma is how to pay for it, our portion.
Our match is the question.
So,
Which got cut off, so I don't see it, but.
and I'm sorry about that, but it wouldn't print, so those are. So our portion is 33,141. The whole grant is 132, so they would pay 99,422. So again, we talked about the urgency of this, and without a crystal ball that can tell us that we can wait a year, we're at your mercy.
Well, this grant, You can't wait a year because you're gonna lose that. money.
You'll lose this grant, exactly.
Right.
How much time do we have in the short term?
But this is another whole thing, and this one is 220 days since it was issued, which is already probably 10 days ago.
So this is not coming out of the budget, we're going to the voters to ask for it.
Correct.
It's coming out of the budget.
That's correct. It's gonna have to be done. We can get an extension. They never told us how much an extension. We'll have to get an
We're
extension.
gonna.
We don't have enough.
Bid, just to get.
Yeah, we don't have enough time
If we're lucky
to
enough to get somebody to bid on it.
engineer, bid, and then install. We just don't have.
So there's a
Kind of
chance
time.
that we won't have to pay it all in this year anyway.
Possibly,
Right.
but we don't have it earmarked for next year either. So this will have to be possibly, taken something else and do less of and hold some money from this year that we're in and then pay for the rest next year. But we'll have to do, prioritize, which he does every day. He prioritizes his work to say, this is an emergency, we'll wait on that. And so if you want to put our energies to this, then that's how we should do it.
I'm assuming this is it all up front before you get.
Of course,
Correct.
they all are, unfortunately. They are.
Well, the only worst thing is we take it out and pave it and then turn around, put more back and pave it the following.
Okay, we have.
Well, it's more like Act 64 stone,
Or something.
something like that would be more.
Let's come back to us where you think you could.
Well,
scrape it.
the problem is right now, we're only halfway through the year.
That's a problem.
The problem is, I don't have a crystal ball. What's mud season look like? What do you think mud season's gonna be?
No, don't.
Are we gonna get a flood this spring? How much more snow are we gonna get? How much salt am I gonna get? Well, no, I'm just saying.
You have
Excellent points.
Your cutting edge on your blades has not been used like they should, okay? So.
I know, we got one enough right here. this spring.
And to be honest, this is gonna be a contracted job, so, it's just gonna really come out of pocket.
What's the immediate timeline for action for us?
We don't need to have an answer tonight.
Okay.
No,
We do need to have you start thinking about it, and we'll come up with what we can do on
I
our
was gonna
side.
say,
And
it's not
then,
us thinking about it, it's you guys thinking about it, coming back to us, because I'm not gonna sit in the room and try to say, Chuck, I'm gonna take some here. I'm gonna take
no,
some here."
well, that's not what we're after. We're after, should we pursue this, or
It's
should we
stupid
let this
not-
go?
Not to dig up 33,000, so somebody's gonna give us 132. It's kind of stupid, not
If
to.
I was running a business and I had the opportunity to borrow money at 1% interest, I would borrow the money and then at the end of the year, step back and say, what do you got left in your budget? Where do you have it? And then take and pay it back. I wouldn't try to whittle it down right this second, being this early into the game. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
Perfect,
keep us posted.
great.
Boards and commissions?
You have a letter.
You
Yes, you do.
It was in the email.
Yeah, correct. From Nathan Stoddard, I unfortunately must step down from the revolving loan fund committee. It is not a very active committee, but I do not have the time to commit to it any longer. I hope the town really steps up and does something with this program moving forward, as it is a huge benefit to our residents. So I would need a motion to accept his resignation.
Motion to accept Nate Stoddard's resignation letter for the revolving loan fund committee with thank you for his time that he has spent and his commitments.
So Kevin,
So moved. Seconded.
Second.
All in favor of accepting the resignation letter?
I can see Chuck thinking, how can I? borrow
Jason, did you say
those?
Yeah.
who said so moved?
I-
So it's Craig.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Nathan.
Maybe Chuck wants to volunteer, although somebody be on that committee.
Any other business? Oh, thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chair,
While we're going back there, Russ, can you talk to him again about why we couldn't have one laptop here? So that if it did happen again, that we could zoom in on the laptop?
Yes, we'll be talking again about some options and alternates to the options.
Okay, thank you.
So date of next meeting
He's
is,
very quick.
Nate had something.
Nate's got to ask something.
Nathan, yeah,
Who, are you guys gonna be able to come back to this meeting after your executive session? Who is the presenter of this meeting? The reason I ask that is if somebody's there that can be the presenter, then you can just stop the recording and mute the meeting, do your executive session, and then unmute it and come back into open session. Whereas previously, after executive sessions, the video feed is cut off.
Good point.
will any other business be,
There's no action taken.
no, there's gonna be no action taken.
so it's under your,
Okay, let's go.
your idea that you're going to shut the meeting off?
Yeah,
When you come back, you're just going to adjourn.
that's correct.
Nate, did you get that?
I got it. I guess I'm okay with it. I mean, I guess I gotta live with it, I suppose.
I don't know what else to do, Nate, to be honest with you, yeah. We definitely can't make a decision. We say we're not gonna make a decision, but we never do anyways coming out of it.
You could adjourn, come back and adjourn on camera.
Well, we would have to tell them, Toby would tell you have to tell them why you're going in, if it's gonna be something you're gonna come back and make a decision on, but this is just.
It's a personnel matter.
That's all.
So,
there's no,
you know ahead of time, you're not gonna take action on what you're gonna discuss.
there you go.
Right.
Yes. It isn't like we told you that we gotta go in and have an executive session to discuss whether somebody gets a raise or not. Then we would have to go back there, so. Right, whatever. All right,
Okay,
Date of next meeting?
20, what is it?
January 26th.
Thank you.
and we're gonna have it here.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Recording